Guys, I'm back again.
My name is Alyssa Edwards, and I need to get up in this all-star gig.
And by all-stars, of course, I mean Oscar Best Picture winners, because that is what we're talking about today. Welcome to my little bed area, showing you another part of the flat in this video. And my little plants in the corner, my little art on the wall. Feel free to admire the background while I'm yapping if you can't be bothered to pay attention the whole time. I've been making like 45-minute videos. I know that it's really difficult sometimes to concentrate and pay attention for 45 minutes straight. So do your best, I guess. I'm gonna try my best today to keep it a little bit shorter, hopefully, and yap a little bit less about each film, but I just can't help it. I get excited and I have a lot of opinions and things to say about some of these movies, and then I just can't shut up. And I want to include everything that I say in the video, of course. I guess let me know if the length of the videos bothers you, but talking about 10 films every month is not light work, so you're just gonna have to bear with it. Let's get into it. And again, for those of you who are new on the channel or seeing me for the first time, welcome. I am doing a film watching challenge in 2026 where I try to watch at least 10 films every month that I've never seen before, and I have themes for each month as well. So now that it is April, we will be talking about my films from March, which were Oscar Best Picture winners, in line for obviously the Oscars being in March. All of the details for the challenge and the rules and everything is in my 2025 film recap video, which I will link down below if you want to see that. But otherwise, it's really not that complicated. I'll just get it rolling. At the start of last month, I was super excited to go into the month to watch like a bunch of Academy Award winners. I was like, I'm gonna watch a bunch of amazing movies this month. Like, I'm gonna watch so many new favorites. I'm gonna love it. It's gonna be great. Tell me why my favorite film of all of the ones that I watched last month was not even an Academy Award winner. I'm just including it in the list because I thought it should have won, and I thought that it was better than the movie that actually won that year. The one that I appreciated and liked the most didn't even win the award. So kind of bending the rules to include that film in this video. I was genuinely a little bit disappointed because some of my favorite films are Academy Award Best Picture winners, like Parasite. It's in my 4 favorites right now, and Everything Everywhere All at Once. I love that film as well. So I was super excited going into this. Maybe it was my choice of films, maybe I could have picked better ones, but I just feel like the films that I watched weren't super exciting to me, and I want to feel excited when I'm watching a film. So I was slightly disappointed. I will go deeper into my feelings and reasons for exactly why when I talk about the individual films. Don't get me wrong, a lot of the films that I watched are objectively really good and technically really good, but I just didn't feel any excitement, or they weren't really like mind-blowing or like awe-striking, if that's a word, to me, and that was why I was a little bit disappointed. I guess I was expecting a little bit more je ne sais quoi, if you will. But it is also not to discourage you from watching any of these films, or if any of these are some of your favorites. I'm not trying to shit on them. This is just my opinion.
How do you know what's good for me? That's my opinion!
All right, without further ado, I will get into my films of last month. I did only watch 9 last month, so we will be hopefully compensating for that this month. Maybe I'll watch 11, who knows. The films that I watched in March are The Godfather by Francis Ford Coppola, Life of Pi by Ang Lee, The Godfather Part 2, also by Francis Ford Coppola, The Silence of the Lambs by Jonathan Demme, Green Book by Peter Farrelly, Spotlight by Tom McCarthy, 12 Years a Slave by Steve McQueen, Schindler's List by Steven Spielberg, and Slumdog Millionaire by Danny Boyle. And like I said, I know Life of Pi is not a Best Picture winner, but I do stand by the fact that it should have won over Argo that year. So I will be bending my own rules and adding it to this video because I simply just want to talk about it. Also, this month I was thinking we would go through these films in order of my least favorite to my favorite, just to keep up the tension. That way also we get all of the negativity out of the way in the beginning of the video, so we don't have to carry and hold on to the negativity for an extended period of time. Let's get started. So first up we have Green Book. This film I thought was okay. I finished it and my main thought was how and why did it win Best Picture? I get like being nominated for the storyline alone. Compared to some of the other winners that I've seen, it wasn't really up to par, I guess. Sorry if you love this film. I think it has a genuinely heartfelt friendship story, but I also think some of the themes of racism, for example, are super surface level. If they wanted to run with that theme, they really needed to explore it a lot further. First of all, this film is a true story, based on a true story. And it follows a super talented pianist dude named Dr. Shirley, and he wants to go on a musical tour of the Deep South states. And this is the 1960s, early 60s, so we still have really prevalent racism down there in the southern states. So my guy, Dr. Shirley, hires the most Italian-American person that you will find on the face of the earth, Tony, to be his driver and kind of bodyguard as well while they tour the southern states. And you see kind of the racism that Dr. Shirley faces while they're down there, and also the friendship that blooms between these two men, even though they're really quite different, and you see how they overcome these differences and start to enjoy each other's company. None of the issues that I had with this film had anything to do with the acting performances. I think both Viggo Mortensen and Mahershala Ali, who played the two main characters, gave really great performances, and I think they had good chemistry as well. I generally was happy with their portrayal of the characters. I just had issues with the screenplay and the themes taken up. They were a little bit surface level for me. I did really enjoy seeing the friendship between these two men. I thought it was super heartfelt and a great story, and obviously it's a real story, so I thought it was really lovely of them to bring that to screen. But also the storyline has started to become really repetitive, and it came across kind of like a black guy gets into trouble and white guy saves him, or even worse, white guy gets into trouble, suffers none of the consequences, and black guy has to suffer because of it. It was very kind of that trope. I feel like they could have explored the characters a lot more, especially Dr. Shirley, who is very complex and interesting character. I personally didn't know much about him before watching this film, and I feel like if you're gonna make a movie about a person that interesting, why are we making it about his Italian-American driver and not him? Like, I wanted to know more about Dr. Shirley. I don't give a fuck about Tony. I did also find a review on Letterboxd, and I'll read it out. Somebody said, "You could be a queer, black, polyglot piano virtuoso who is arguably the most interesting person in whatever room you step into, and in 50 years, they will make a film about the Italian guy who drove you places for 2 months and can eat 26 hot dogs in one sitting." Did they stutter? I wish we could have seen more about Dr. Shirley. I don't really care about Tony, who is just a random guy from New York. At one point in the film, Tony, the most Italian-American person ever, took an entire pizza, the round thing, like the entire, no slicing, no nothing, the entire pizza, folded it in half and took a bite. That's how he ate an entire pizza. And that really tells you all you need to know about him and the movie. Okay, next up we have Spotlight. This was crazy. This was crazy. This is another film based on a true story. We are gonna have a lot of those on this list. Just reminding yourself that this is a true story throughout this film makes it so much more upsetting and insane. So this film is about an investigative unit in the Boston Globe newspaper that stumbled upon this case involving the Catholic Church molesting children, and they ended up uncovering that entire pattern and web of sexual abuse towards children and how the Catholic Church ended up protecting the priests who were involved in covering up the whole scandal as well. They only investigated the priests within Boston, but obviously it led to investigations on the Catholic Church all around the world, and the amount of priests that fucking molested and sexually abused children is so insane. Just like I said, having to remind myself constantly throughout this film that this is a true story made it so much worse. I do really enjoy films based on true stories because I think they're good learning opportunities as long as the film is truthful and not exaggerating. I also thought that the story of this is so important and deserves to get recognition like this on the big screen and nominated for an Oscar and winning an Oscar as well. I think in this film we get really good performances from really good actors, and I like that the film doesn't spend unnecessarily any time going into the characters' family lives or personalities or backgrounds or anything like that, because sometimes you will get a film based on a true story that will try to like fill out the story with unnecessary information about the actual characters, when I would rather it focus on the actual case that they're investigating. This film really got to the point and stuck to the point, and I appreciate that. Is this the greatest, most visually stunning, beautiful film ever? No. However, it has a very important story to tell, and it does so very efficiently. It did do very well with what it sought out to do. Right, so next up we have a film called 12 Years a Slave. This is another true story. I didn't really know what was going to happen, or I didn't know much about the plot when I went into the film, which is always my favorite way to watch any film. I love going into it unprepared. This film is about Solomon Northup, who is a freeborn black man living in New York State in 1841. So bear in mind, this is all before the Civil War in the United States. Also, isn't it fucking crazy to think that the Civil War that essentially started from states having different views and opinions on slavery wasn't even that long ago? My guy Solomon gets kidnapped and sold into slavery, where he remains for 12 years before he is able to get word to some of his acquaintances, I guess, in New York, who can come down and rescue him by proving that he has free person's papers. 12 years. Okay, hey guys, new day, new look. Sorry, you can like see the glare of the window through my glasses. Sorry about that. I'm just filming a little additional piece to the review about 12 Years a Slave because I felt like the original commentary that I filmed didn't really get to the point of what I wanted to say. Like I said, this is based on a true story, so everything that happens in this film are things that happened actually to this person, also happened to so many other people living under slavery for the hundreds of years that was a thing. For me, especially as a European white woman, we get educated very little about the horrors that happened to people during American slavery and the transatlantic slave trade in general. We get told about what it is, but we don't really go into depth on what it meant to people and how they suffered for so many years at the hand of European people and countries. I think in my country especially, like, we don't get educated on it because people believe that it doesn't like affect us or didn't touch us in any way. But when horrors like this are committed against a group of people, it affects everybody. Like, everybody needs to stop and think and consider what the fuck went wrong and what we have to do to fix it. Also, excuse my fucking neighbors fucking renovating in the background. I think it would be so important to get more education on the transatlantic slave trade. But I think especially because of that, the lack of education, it was super important for me to be able to watch this film, even though it is super heavy, and to be able to learn about what has happened to people during this time and how it has affected them, what it actually looks like, because this is not a film that implies and doesn't show. Like, this film is not afraid of showing things as they actually happened, and I think in that sense this film is really, really important for a lot of people to see and a lot of people to watch. And I appreciate that the the Academy also rewarded it for doing that. We need films like this. Obviously, any film that grapples with a super heavy topic is one that you need to have the right mindset to be able to process the information and really sit with it and think about it and internalize it. They're really important films, and I would highly recommend that you watch them nonetheless. But yeah, let's move on to the next one. Okay, next up is Schindler's List by Steven Spielberg. Clearly, the Oscar committee loves awarding films about true stories because this is another film based on a true story. This movie is about Oskar Schindler, who moves to Warsaw in Poland during the Second World War / right before the Second World War to make money, essentially. He basically ends up saving the lives of over 1,000, I think it's 1,100 Jews, by employing them in his factory, and through that making sure that they don't get sent to Auschwitz. This movie is very heavy and you need to be in a very specific mindset again to watch it. Also, it's 3.5 hours long, so it is not one of those movies that you just turn on at a random weeknight when you want to relax after a hard day of work. It's not that. I truly think that this is a great example of great films that I will never watch again just because of the topic. I think it's good, obviously, that people know about the horrors of the Holocaust and what happened. I also think people have a lot more information on what happened during the Holocaust than, for example, transatlantic slave trade, especially as Europeans. But that is not to discourage you from watching the film. I do think it's a great film. I do think it's good that we are, again, showing the cruelty of the human race, specifically men. Once again, if a woman had been in charge, this would have never happened. Also, at the end of the film, there is a little scene where some of the survivors, the actual survivors from the Holocaust and World War II, go to Oskar Schindler's grave and lay stones on it as a sign of respect. Liam Neeson, who plays Schindler in this film, also lays a couple of roses on top of the grave, and I thought that was a really, really nice touch and super important to include. I hope that it brought peace to all of the survivors. Stylistically, I loved that this was in black and white. I thought the cinematography was great. I'm pretty sure that Spielberg said somewhere that he wanted it to be black and white because of the bleakness of that period in time. I think stylistically it's a great film. I think cinematography is great. Yeah, like I said, it just deals with some very awful, disgusting, horrible things that is really difficult sometimes to wrap your head around, that humans can and are capable of committing atrocious acts like a genocide towards other people. But alas, we're seeing it right now in our daily lives as well. So yeah, it's another hard watch, another reminder of how cruel humans can be. And yeah, but stylistically and technically it's a fantastic film. Okay, I am taking Godfather 1 and 2 kind of at the same time because obviously they share a lot of similar themes and they have the same storyline, they follow the same family. I might get some hate for not saying that these are the greatest films of all time. I might get some hate for saying this, and I did in fact rate Ristorapaja higher than both of these. So sue me if you want to. I personally think I can handle it. Write your hate comments down below. I don't care. So as you will know, these films are obviously, first of all, super iconic, but also really well made and technically really amazing films with great performances from basically everybody involved. But they were a little bit long and a little bit boring. Sorry. I feel like I would have to be in a really specific state of mind again to watch these. Also, they're so long. They're so long. I feel like I might have probably been one of the 2 people alive who hasn't seen these films before or doesn't know what they're about. The story follows the crime family Corleone in the 1950s and 60s, maybe into the 70s in the second one, in New York. And the first one follows kind of the rise of the Corleone family as a relevant crime mafia family in New York, and the rise of Michael, the youngest son of the family as the crime boss of the family after taking over after his father, who is played by Marlon Brando, by the way. It follows kind of the rise of Michael and how he takes over the family business and his character development as well. And then the second one again follows Michael as he tries to expand the family business and how the life of crime that he originally didn't even want to get involved with, how it is affecting him and all of the relationships around him. And then in the second film also at the same time, we are seeing flashbacks to when Don Vito Corleone, played by Marlon Brando in the first film, how he actually ended up coming to New York from Sicily as a young boy and starting the family business and how he built up the family as well. Now, I really enjoyed both films. Not to the point of giving them like 6 stars or whatever, but I did think that they're genuinely, objectively good films. I will say maybe the first one is still my favorite. I know a lot of people rave about the second one, mostly because of Michael and his kind of character development. I just think the first film is so iconic, down to the music. The song is so iconic and the vibes and cinematography is great. And with the second film, I mainly liked the parts where we see Vito growing up and coming to New York and building the family business. I really loved seeing those parts. I will say the way Al Pacino portrayed Michael in the second film and like his mental decline and everything, I thought was really well done, and objectively it's a fantastic performance. I just can't get over the fact that Michael started to piss me off, and also I kind of started to lose track of all of these family members and characters and names and stuff. I reckon it would be better on a rewatch once you like get into it a little bit more. All in all, these are an iconic pair of films, and I would recommend that you watch these with a charcuterie board and red wine. That feels appropriate. This one, I was kind of scared of going into this, to be honest. Silence of the Lambs. Like I've said before, I love going into films unprepared. I like not knowing what's going to happen and what the premise is. All I knew about this is that it's a thriller, like a psychological thriller slash crime film. So I was worried I would be like scared out of my mind, but it's really good. It's really good. It follows a girly pop who is in FBI school, and she becomes involved in the investigation into a series of murders, and her supervisor, I guess, her teacher dude, wants her to help by interviewing Hannibal Lecter, who is notorious serial killer. Basically, they want her involved because they think that he is more likely to speak to a woman and speak to her than speak to any of the male officers who are also involved with the case. Basically, they want Hannibal Lecter's help figuring out the case and they're hoping to find out who is committing these murders. So it's kind of like a murder mystery. Plus, obviously, Hannibal Lecter is a fucking psychopath. So, you know, dealing with him is a bit of a piece of work. Now, of course, Hannibal Lecter is an iconic villain, psychopath, bad person generally. So it's really interesting in the film to kind of see his mind at work. And I thought that Anthony Hopkins, who plays him, did a fantastic job. He was chilling, to say the least. I also thought that the tension building in this film was really great. They use a lot of like really tight shots of people's faces, especially Hannibal Lecter, even though he has actually a very limited amount of screen time. Like, he's not on screen that much, but the impact of him as a character in the film, even if he's not on screen, is crazy. And that's how you know you did a great job. Like I was saying, the tension building is really good. I was wrapped in a blanket on my couch, unable to move and breathe for most of the film. But it wasn't because it's super scary, it's just because the tension building is so good and you're waiting to see what happens. Towards the end of the film, I'm not trying to spoil anything, but there's like what could be a fight scene that is filmed with a night vision camera, and it is so oppressing. Like that scene and just the mood and the vibe and everything at that point of the film just gives me so much anxiety, but it's a great scene. All in all, it's a great film and I would definitely recommend it. It wasn't my favorite kind of genre of film, but I was super surprised to have liked it as much as I did, and I would definitely rewatch it, preferably with somebody who hasn't seen it yet. I think that would be really fun. Now we're getting into my top 2 films of the month. First off, we have Slumdog Millionaire. It was so good. You know what? I've seen some hate for this film online, and I will not stand for it. I thought it was amazing. I think this film was great with a capital everything. First of all, the first like 10 minutes are amazing. The editing, the music, the vibes, the sense of urgency in the first 5 minutes of the film are great. Oh, the color grading is amazing. Everything's so saturated, and I feel like I could reach into the screen and feel the environment on my hand. Like, to that extent, I thought that the environment building and the color grading and editing and everything was so good. You could just feel the kind of hecticness and chaos and urgency of Mumbai as an environment really well through the screen, as somebody who has never been to India or Mumbai. In my humble opinion, I thought it was very well portrayed. This movie is about my guy Jamal, who grows up very poor and in super rough circumstances in Mumbai. He ends up going on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and he ends up winning the whole thing. Like, he wins the equivalent of $1 million, which is 20 million rupees on the show. Because he's not very well educated, people immediately think that he is cheating. As you're watching the film, you kind of understand how those specific questions relate to some parts of his life and stories of what he's been through, and it becomes clear that it was just meant to happen and meant to be. I love stories where things that seem impossible just kind of somehow happen, and you begin to see the full picture and begin to see how everything locks into place. I also, of course, thought that the performances were great, starting with Dev Patel. I don't think he's ever done a bad role in his entire life. It seems like he's allergic to it. He was amazing. I saw some people complain about the editing. Somebody was like, why is this editing been done on a crazy old Windows computer? I thought it was really good. I love the editing, like the jumping from hearing the question that he gets asked on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and then jumping to how that question relates to a certain time in his life, and how, like, explaining how he knows the answer to it. It's like his entire life had prepared him to sit in that chair and know the answers to every single question that was coming his way. I really loved it as a story. I thought it was great. Go watch it, I guess. Recommend, highly recommend. I have to emphasize, the soundtrack is so good. I'm gonna have to rewatch it. The soundtrack, the vibes, the color grading, the editing. Chef's kiss. Isn't it fun that my favorite film of the month isn't even an Academy Award winner? But it should have been. I love bending my own rules. This is Life of Pi by Ang Lee. Fantastic film. The only 5-star review of the month, mind you. This was excellent. It was excellent. It's about a dude who grows up in India. His family runs a zoo, so he's grown up around animals, and his family ends up, because of financial trouble, deciding that they're going to move to Canada, take the animals with them, and then sell them in Canada, because they'll get more money essentially for the animals in Canada compared to India. And so they travel by ship towards Canada, and the ship unfortunately ends up sinking. As a result, my main guy's entire family dies. He gets stuck on a tiny lifeboat with a hyena, a zebra, an orangutan, and a tiger. 4 animals. Follows his survival in the middle of the ocean with the animals, basically. It's such a beautiful film. Some of the shots in this movie of the ocean and the environment and the sky and the animals and everything are just so beautiful. And I'm a sucker for beautiful things. I feel like had I seen this film when I was younger and more impressionable, it maybe would have made me want to become a marine biologist. There's just so many beautiful shots in this movie of the places that he finds himself on this journey. And he also goes through a mental journey as well. Obviously survival and resilience from having to live out at sea with no supplies, essentially. Yeah, it changes his life. I mean, he loses his entire family and he's forced to deal with it in a survival situation. He's out there for months before he gets rescued. He survives eventually. Honestly, I don't have much to say. I just thought it was a beautiful film. And that should be enough. Why should I explain myself to you? I guess I'm just so impressed by the resilience of my main guy, because I actually would have given up like on the second day and just let the tiger eat me or drown myself or something. But he goes through crisis after crisis and just deals with it and moves forward. It's very admirable, his whole life. I also have to say, in the beginning of the film, when we are introduced to him as a character and see his life in India, and especially his brief romance with a girl called Anandi. Just the vibes and the aesthetics and everything is just so good. Please watch it. If you take one film recommendation from this video, let it be Life of Pi if you haven't already seen it. And if you have seen it, write to me about it. I want to know your opinion. We have come to the end of our video today. I feel like this one went a little bit smoother and shorter than the previous one. I feel like I yapped a little bit less. I do hope that you were able to get at least 1 or 2 film recommendations from this video as well. I had a really good time again filming this and making this for you, so I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to get a little sneak peek of what I'm watching this month and what I'm going to be yapping about next video, head on to my Letterboxd. I will link that down below as well. I will see you in May. Crazy. I feel like this year just started. But I'll see you in May. Bye.